Today we shall discuss chapter 2 of biology, that is biological classification. You see, when we discuss about this point, the first question arises, what is the need for classifying organism? So you know, a large number of biodiversity is present on the earth crust. There are around 1.7 to 1.8 million species of plant, animals and microscopic organisms. So it is very difficult to go to each and every plant, animal and microscopic organism and to study. So to overcome this problem, we make groups, and when we make the group, if we study the features of that particular group, so we can predict the features of the organisms belonging to that group. With the help of that, we can even identify and put that organism into that group. So you see, classification provides us lot of facilities. A few we are discussing here, like it makes the study convenient. It facilitates identification of organisms. It reveals relationship among organisms. It reveals evolutionary trends. Now, you see, what are the objectives of classification? For what purpose we develop the systems for classifying? For what purpose we develop the system of classifying organisms? So there are three main objectives. The first one is to recognize and precise describe the basic units of classification, that is species. Second, to devise an appropriate method of assigning the basic units into an ascending series of group on the basis of their similarities and relationship. In other way, we can say to develop the taxonomical hierarchy. Third, to indicate phylogeny of organisms. So now we shall discuss history of classification. In past, many efforts were made by human beings to classify organisms. Very early, the people classified plants and animals on the basis of their use, like they classified as cereals, decorating plants, medicinal plants. Similarly, animals like milk giving, drought animals, and many more vernacular classifications were prevailing. Later on, in past, as the civilization proceeded, many efforts were made by different types. Like, if we go very back in our Vedic literature, that is from 2500 BC to 6. In Vedic literature, 2500 before Christ to 650 before Christ, there were description of around 740 plants and 250 animals. After that, in 460 to 377 BC, Hippocrates he classified animals. Hippocrates and Aristotle classified animals in four categories, like insects, birds, fishes and whales. Similarly, in 370 to 285 BC, Theophrastus classified plants into four categories. They were trees, shrubs, undershrubs and herbs. Now we shall discuss two kingdoms. So the two kingdom system of classification was given by Carolus Linnaeus in 1758. On the basis of some observable features, he classified all the living organisms into two categories. He made two groups called kingdoms. One is plant kingdom or kingdom plantae, another is animal kingdom or kingdom animalia. He classified all the organisms on the basis of many features. A few basic features we shall discuss here, like presence or absence of cell wall. In kingdom plantae, cell wall is present. In kingdom animalia, cell wall is absent. In kingdom plantae, the organisms are mostly autotrophic. They prepare their food at their own by using inorganic raw material. In kingdom animalia, the nutrition type is heterotrophic. They prepare their food from the plants. They take actually food prepared by plants by photosynthesis. Most of the plants, they remain fixed at one place, so they are sessile or sedentary. They remain fixed at one place. They show movement, but they do not locomote. But most of the animals, they can locomote, they can go from one another. In plants, that stored food material is starch. They store their carbohydrate in the form of starch. But animal, they store carbohydrate in the form of glycogen. The plants show very slowly to the external environment, but animals show very quick response to external environment. The plants show very simple body design, but as we go to the higher group, the animals show very complex body design. Now, the two kingdom system classification was a very good effort. Though there were many limitations of it. We shall discuss a few of them, like position of Euglena. You see, Euglena is unicellular organism. It can move from one place to another. It can prepare its food by photosynthesis. So its some features belong to animal kingdom and other belong to plant kingdom. But it was kept with animal kingdom. Second, position of Chlamydomonas. You know, Chlamydomonas is unicellular, free-floating algae, and it has photosynthesis. It do autotrophic nutrition, but it can move from one place to another. So, some features are similar to plant kingdom and others are similar to animal kingdom. But it was kept in the plant kingdom with algae. Similarly, position of slime molds. Slime molds, they do not have fixed cell. They can breathe, they can ingest the food like animals, but they were kept with the plants. Similarly, position of sponges. The sponges were kept with animals. They do not have cell wall, but they remain fixed at one place like plants. Similarly, the position of diatoms and animals. Diatoms are unicellular, they have cell wall, they are autotrophic, but they were kept with animals which are heterotrophic, without cell wall and highly organized. Similarly, the position of fungi, it was also not proper because it was kept with the plant, but it does not contain chlorophyll. vegetation is heterotrophic, that is mainly saprophytic, and its cell wall is also not similar to the plants because the cell wall of plant is made up of cellulose and cell wall of fungi is made up of chitin. So, as a conclusion, we can say that two kingdom system was a good effort. Two kingdom system was a good effort, but it has many drawbacks. It even did not consider the evolutionary relationship of the organisms. It was merely based on superficial characters. After this, many more efforts were made and many other kingdoms were formed that we shall discuss in our next video.